All right, welcome this Sunday evening to our weekly setup. First day of October, first week of October. It's so great to see so many of our Sonder fam here. We have upwards of 150-ish folks, and I'm guessing more will kind of pop in. So just know sometimes the chat goes a little fast there as it kind of scrolls. And I love that everyone's saying hello and where they're logging in from. So great to see everyone, coming in. And I should also mention, for those of you who are new, I can't actually see you. I see your names as you type in the chat, but I don't see you and we don't hear you, and nobody else does either. So it's a very low stress, don't have to worry about like if the kiddos are yelling or the dogs or the cats are making noise or the spouse is talking, right? Like we can't hear it. It's all good. So my name is Maya, and I am coming to you from Aurora, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. And with me this evening, helping out in the chat, helping me keep an eye on that chat, is Bailey, and she might pop on and give a little wave. She's got, oh, there she is waving. She has a couple little cats there sometimes that jump up on her shoulders. So, so hopefully they don't keep her from typing tonight. But anyway, so our main goal in this hour is to get you set up and ready for the week, ready to get going, ready to, feeling really confident in those pages. And so in your October journal, we are going to be looking at pages 32 and 33 tonight. So those are going to be the pages that we focus on. I'll touch a little bit on the weekly spread at the end, kind of what some folks do with that, but our main focus are those two pages, because I think sometimes people are like, I'm not sure what to put in here. So a couple of housekeeping tips for you. Make sure you set your Zoom chat to everyone if you want to share with everyone in the Sonder family. So there's that little picture over there in the bottom left where it shows you set your Zoom chat to everyone, and it's got the little everyone blue box. If you are on an iPhone or an iPad, sometimes it will keep defaulting back to host and panelist. Not a huge deal, but just know that it does that. And when it does, the only people that can see your chat are myself and Bailey. So if you want everyone to see, if you're asking for suggestions or kind of wanting to know what other folks are thinking, make sure that you switch that back and forth, right? The other thing is we just have a few community guidelines just to make sure that we want to remind everyone this is a safe and supportive space, right? This is a place where we can get ideas, where we can support each other. It's it's that good community, that positive community, right? So we want to make sure that you're kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy, even if you know someone here in real life. You don't bring up what they said in a Sonder Social, right? No hate speech or bullying, obviously. We want to limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. It's fine to ask about pins or stickers or those kinds of things occasionally, but the best place to do that is in our app, in the Sonder Club app, because that way people can give you links and you're not trying to scroll through frantically in the chat trying to find what folks said, right? And if you have any customer care inquiries, like issues with shipping, or you changed your home address, and you need to make sure they have the new address, or you're not sure about billing issues, right? Send those to hello@silkandsonder.com. That's where our headquarters, they are Monday through Friday business. So give them a little bit of time when you send those emails to respond back. Just know that Bailey and I don't have access to your accounts, so we can't really, we can't go in and look and see and fix any of that kind of stuff, right? So always be sure and email them. It's also good to email them sometimes if you have some suggestions for social times. I know some folks, I try to keep an eye on Sonder Club. We did not have our weekly setup social this morning. Headquarters is kind of playing with times, trying to see which times are the most popular, which times work the best for folks, which ones have the most people show up, those kinds of things. So this month, you'll notice that there's kind of some moving around. If you're like, I have got to have it in the morning, this really is hard for me to make it in the evening, or I really need it on Saturday, Or some people might even say, I really wish there was one Friday night, right? Always send all of those suggestions to that hello@silkandsonder.com. Not that they can always accommodate everyone, but at least you kind of get your message in there, right? So don't ever feel bad by not having. Yeah, I see Marty saying like I'm thrown off by not doing this morning, and somebody I know was confused because they couldn't find the morning setup, and I was like, it's okay, it's not there. Like, don't think you're missing something. So, and we always record these, and there was also a post that Nicole, they're not necessarily gone forever. Again, they're still kind of flipping things around and kind of seeing, so they won't necessarily be every Sunday or every Monday, I think this month. So again, let them know, email, I need it Monday morning. I need it Sunday morning. Let them know. I also noticed Meha our founder did post a message in Sonder Club today, kind of asking some questions about what kinds of things you would like to see, because honestly, and that's one of the great things about Silk and Sonder, is that we're constantly experimenting with different things. What kinds of things work? What doesn't work? What do people like? What do they want? What do they need? And so I think she had a little question on there about thinking about the socials. So you might want to check out Sonder Club if you haven't already. And we do record these and we put these up on YouTube. And I think we do have the special YouTube link for the playlist, but I think they've started putting them also on the main Silk and Sonder YouTube page, so you can get a hold of those as well. And remember, these socials really are a tool to help you elevate your emotional health through the power of community. But you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So if anything that we're working on, a section we're working on, a prompt that we're working on doesn't really resonate with you, you're like, it's not really my jam, not really feeling it, feel free to maybe do some coloring and wait until we move on to something else. That's absolutely fine. Same thing, whereas if the music we're playing isn't your favorite and it's not really inspiring you, just hit mute, and you've got the closed captions so you can see when I pop back on and start talking, so you can kind of turn that back on. So again, it's really kind of up to you to do what you need to do for yourself to do this work, because really, ultimately, this is your journal and it's your time. So this month's theme, first of all, let me say, spelling this word is really tricky for me. Every once in a while there's a theme where I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I am going to mess up one of these slides when I make these, because I do all the slides for our Silk and Sonder facilitators. I set up the template for them, so I have to say it in my head as perseverance, but that is not how you pronounce it. Yeah, Angela. So I'm all like perseverance, and then I try to say it. I'm like perseverance. So if I go back and forth, yeah, Missy's saying I always spell this word wrong. So this is your month to practice with this word. It's a great word. I do like it, but it is a little tricky to spell, I gotta say. And I liked this little kind of goodbye letter to September. I know that some of our Sonder fam like to write in their weekly to-do section. They'll write for the first week. They write a little goodbye letter to last month. So this one says, so long, September. It's time to say goodbye. Your sweet blue skies and sunny golden days warmed our hearts, but it's time to cozy up by the fire and feel the glow of pumpkins and crunch in the falling leaves. See you next year. Right. So I love that. Kind of a fun way to say goodbye to the last month. You might want to write a hello letter to October. Always kind of a fun way to start. So I want to ask, how many folks, like, this is your first social that you've been to, the first time? You can just throw a me in the chat, or it's my first time. Awesome. So I see some first folks. I see folks raising their hand in the chat. Awesome. Me. Oh, goodness. We have lots of new folks. Welcome, welcome. So hopefully this is a good activity. Oh, yes. We love to have all of our new friends as well as our returning members. So fantastic. So just know that a really good thing to do sometimes in these setups, especially when you're new, is to maybe do some notes on Post-it notes, so you don't have to worry about scribbling or making a mistake or having to cross something out in your journal. Not that that's a bad thing, but I know sometimes folks get a little stressed out with that idea, right? So take some screenshots or grab your phone to take a quick picture of the slides so that you can kind of remember what we're on those and what you can go back to. So again, If you like this little letter or something, you might want to take a quick screenshot or a picture. And just know, yeah, like some of our Sonder fam are saying, don't try to do all the things. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming. So, and I saw somebody said they don't even have their journal yet. They're here. So I love that, right? You're like, I'm ready for when the journal comes. So you've got maybe some scratch paper or some post-it notes, something to kind of jot things down so you're ready to dive in when that journal comes. So I love it. So here's our agenda for tonight. And it does go by pretty fast. We always talk about this as the fastest hour of the week, much faster than a work hour or a treadmill hour, right? So we're going to do a mind map. We always do a mind map at these weekly socials where we can kind of get you to dig in a little bit to that monthly theme, right? So we're going to do that with perseverance. Then we're going to do a rosebud thorn activity. Always very important to reflect back on that last week that we just wrapped up. Then we'll dive into those pages 32 and 33, and then we'll just kind of wrap things up, right? And I always like to use these two little cartoons because they really emphasize how we feel about folks coming to these socials. First of all, with all the little kittens in a pile there, there's room for you here just as you are. Sometimes things are going great. You want to celebrate. You got a new job. You got a promotion. You're in a fabulous relationship. Your kiddos are doing something great in school. You got a new car. We love it. Share that. We love to celebrate with our Sonder fam. Conversely, we know life is not always full of those ups, right? We get the downs too. We get the bumps. So sometimes folks are struggling with an illness, or they have a loved one who is struggling with an illness. Maybe they work at a job that is really stressful, right? Maybe, yeah, Nicole is saying like sometimes you fought off borderline depression over the state of the world, right? So like we're all dealing with a lot of different things, right? And so sometimes there are those down things. We're here for you as well. Share with us your struggles, share with us those challenges, share with us those things. Sometimes it just helps to have somebody say, hey girl, I hear you. I am thinking of you. We're keeping you in our thoughts as we go forward. And also the other little cartoon says the way you feel matters, and no emotion you feel is bad or unworthy. Nobody can tell you how you should feel about something. Nobody can say you shouldn't feel sad. You shouldn't feel angry. You shouldn't feel hurt or upset, right? Nobody can tell you that. Your feelings are your feelings, and we are here to feel the feels. And I noticed somebody realized that there was not a first blank page like we usually have. It is actually filled with the Wheel of Life on page 7. Oftentimes that's a blank notes page, but usually once a quarter, we throw in that Wheel of Life. And there is a fabulous one of our socials will deal with specifically setting up the Wheel of Life. There's also some recordings that we have on the YouTube channel for how to do that. But yes, you are going to be down, you're down a blank page. So just kind of keep that in mind as we dive into our mind map. So the idea of the mind map is we want to just kind of dig into this theme, and we're going to explore that concept, the concept of perseverance in our lives. So we're actually going to do that for 5 weekends this month because of the way the days work out. You know, you always hear me say, if I ruled the world, I would make it so every month started on a Monday and we only had 28 days. And yes, it would add another month, but I'm okay with that because it would all be clean and life would be so much easier to start out, and it would be so organized. But I know that's not the way it works. So we're going to do 5 weekends this month. So this week, we're going to focus on kind of making that transition from flourishing to perseverance. And I think they're totally related. So that's what I want you to kind of think about. So I have the Perseverance Islands for us here this month, right? And this first week, we are going to think about how can perseverance help you flourish? What is something about that concept of persevering that leads to flourishing? And I know some folks had a tough time with September with the concept of flourishing, not feeling like they were flourishing. So think about, what could you do? How could you persevere that would help you feel that flourishing piece? So this is, again, on a blank page somewhere. It could be, you could use the scratch pad section of each week to write it on. You could use, if there's one of those pages you're not going to use, so maybe like oh yeah, and somebody's saying they repurposed the week that they didn't use. So you know how this month has kind of that extra piece from the last week of October or the last week of September in there. So whatever works for you, right? But this isn't anywhere specifically in the journal. This is just for you to kind of find a spot that you want to write. And there are going to be 5 weeks. So think about that as you fill it out. So here's some examples. This is actually our fabulous facilitator, Katie. She did a weekly setup last night and she used this for her perseverance mind map. Again, that question is, how can you persevere, or how can perseverance help you flourish? Right. And she also kind of thought of some synonyms for perseverance, right? So tenacity, staying power, grit, moxie, being all in. So maybe if you're not fond of the word perseverance, you can always change that up to a word that means the same thing, but you like better. So maybe you want to make a list, reflect on a specific event or something that you overcame. What were some concepts of flourishing that you embraced or learned about yourself? If you're new, that's okay. Just kind of, you can still think about, what does it mean to flourish and what is perseverance? How is that related? Make sure that you're gentle with yourself, but also give yourself permission to explore this concept, celebrating how you got here and what are some steps you can take to be more confident in your answer. So that's one example. The other example we have is from our fabulous facilitator, Jen O. And she uses her driver's license to draw the little boxes, right? And so she drew 5 of those little boxes. And then she wrote out about how can perseverance help her flourish. It helps her stay focused on her goals, pushes her to stick with it when things get difficult, made me a resilient person. She's pretty good at bouncing back from disappointment and failures, but and so this keeps her moving forward. Perseverance keeps her moving forward and always learning, and helps her kind of think of that strong work ethic. Reverend Joy Ellen, yes, I totally think of that picture with the keep on trucking picture with the guy with the big foot, and he's kind of got his he's kind of like moving the foot out. I love that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little music. I'm going to let you work on this section. I'll cycle through these pages so that you can see again. Feel free to let us know if you want to let us know where you're doing this and what you're writing in here for how perseverance can help you flourish. We would love to hear it, and we'll check back in here in just a minute. All right. So lots of good reflection there. I really appreciated um, Fernanda's question about should you when do you stop persevering with something and she said give up, right? And I would say that perseverance doesn't necessarily mean doing something even if you know that it's wrong, even if you know that it's not helping, even if you know that it's not right. Sometimes perseverance means realizing that something isn't for you, right? And that perseverance then means that you move on to something else. You persevere still in wanting to keep things authentic for yourself and wanting to keep ways that you can flourish in your mind. And sometimes that does mean saying, you know what, this is over. And there was a really interesting book. I want to say it was called Necessary Endings. I have to look it up during one of the songs. I'll see if I can find it. But it really talks about like we have seasons of our lives, we have different things happening at different times, and we don't always necessarily we're not the same people, and so we need to kind of move on. So sometimes that idea of ending things is can be very difficult, it can be very challenging, but it's important to be able to do. So yes, I definitely would recommend taking a look at that book and reading it and being like, oh, okay, sometimes we do actually have to end things, right? So let's jump over to our weekly reflection, our rose, bud, and thorn. So this is going to be on page 30. So this is always at the end of the week that we just finished. So even if you hadn't actually filled that out in your October journal, you can go ahead and put your weekly reflection here, right? So, a couple of things. Our rose is something that made us smile, that made us happy, that was just a highlight of our week. It can be something small. For me, I said it was my husband's sense of humor. He has been in a very goofy mood this week, and he's been being very, very silly. And but it's been so great because I've been kind of stressed up, and so he's been kind of he's been helping with that. So that's definitely the rose of my week. My bud is this time next week. We will be in the Sphere in Las Vegas seeing the new new 2 show in the Sphere. And so we're very, very excited about that. We've been looking forward to that for quite some time. So definitely excited to do that because we've seen some videos and it looks just insane. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how that is. They just opened Friday night, so it'll still be relatively new. So hopefully that will be amazing. And I will, of course, report back to y'all and put some pictures in Sonder Club. So that bud is something that's coming up, something that we're excited about, something that is fun, something that we can look forward to, right? And then our thorn is a challenge, something that maybe is out of our hands, something that maybe we don't have control over, but it's, maybe just things that aren't going like we want. And work has just been a series of meetings, and more meetings. And it was just a lot last week. So, it's definitely been a bit of a thorn for the week. So feel free to let us know your rose, bud, and thorns. And then we'll play a little bit of music and then we'll check back in here in just a moment. All right, so hopefully that gave you some time to kind of think of this. I think it's always important for us to reflect back on the week. And then if you haven't done your monthly setup, this is always a good place to go when you do that reflecting back on the whole month. You can always go back to these weekly reflections, your rosebuds and thorns, to kind of remind you of how the week went. So I saw lots of good roses in there, and definitely some annoying thorns that are still popping up. So hopefully those will calm down for us in the next week. So let's dive into our pages 32 and 33. So this is our weekly setup. Here you can kind of see someone holding up the full thing all filled out there. So the first little box is this week I want to feel. So the idea is what I think of it as is, how do you want to show up for the week, right? How do you want people to see you? How do you want to feel? How do you want to dive into this week? What's that feeling that you want to do? I see somebody in the chat talking about axe throwing. We did that once and it is super fun. Highly recommend it. So how do you want to feel this week? Maybe you want to feel powerful and you're going to go axe throwing. Maybe you want to feel serene. Maybe you want to feel optimistic. I want to feel inspired, because I feel like that's kind of how I want to dive into this first week of October, last quarter of the year. Right. And here's some other examples of things that folks have done. It can be just one word. It can be several words. It can be a phrase. It can be an affirmation. I see people putting things like confident, accomplished, embracing curiosity, excited, put together, magical, right? I love all of those things. And I'm not going to play a song because I want to also have you think about at the same time your three major goals, because I feel like sometimes if we can identify our feeling, then when we go into our goals, it's a little bit easier to set those, right? Because you're like, how can my goals contribute to that feeling? How can accomplishing these goals help me reach that feeling? So I see so many fabulous words in here: motivated and confident, delightful, beautiful, productive. So many great words. So these three major goals, keep those words coming, keep those words in mind, right? And we're going to set three goals. It doesn't have to be three. It could be fewer. So you might want to go back to those October intentions pages and the monthly habit tracker if you've filled those out, to remind you of some things that you want to set for goals for the week. You might set your goals through the lens of perseverance. You might want to create some no goals that affect your life in a positive way. So saying things like no alcohol, no doom scrolling, no more than a certain number of minutes on social media, no impulse spending, no takeout meals. Maybe you want to look back at previous weeks or previous journals and see if there's still some goals there that you want to deal with. Maybe you want to frame your goals around a single personal challenge for the week. Like maybe you have a fitness challenge or a cleaning or decluttering challenge. I see Liz is dealing with my last two doom piles. Finally finish moving and be done with it. Right. So that's definitely a goal for her. Self-care goals, soup salad or some sort of recipe challenge. Oh, Karen, birthday week. Yay. Happy birthday. Wants to feel happy, pampered, relaxed, and loved. I threw in this little quote about, I may not be there yet, but I'm closer than I was yesterday. And I think that is kind of embodies that idea of perseverance, right? I'm not there yet, but I'm closer than I was yesterday. So here's some examples of some things that folks have done with their feeling and then tied to their goals, right? So this person wants to feel mellow. They set some goals for their mind, body, and spirit around that. Another person wants to feel motivated. So they have things about reading and writing and moving and work. So they have some things set up around that. Another person wants to feel rested. So again, they have a mind, body, and spirit, and those are all tied into that feeling of being feeling rested. Here are some other examples of just the goals. Again, a mind, body, and spirit one. There's a left brain, right brain, and no brain, which I think is kind of funny, kind of a fun way to think about setting your goals. So mine for this week, mine is the one in the bottom left. And so I'm thinking of a less than and a more than, right? So less email, more completed work. Could have also said less meetings, less sitting and more movement, less social media and more social action in real life. So that's kind of my example of what I want to set up for my goals for the week, right? Excuse me. So what I'll do is I'll cycle through. And if you don't want to set up goals, you can always repurpose this section with something different, right? Something that you want to do. So, I'll pop back here to some of the feelings, and then I'll circulate through those others, and then we'll check back in here in just a few minutes. All right, so hopefully you've got some ideas of the goals that you can set to help you have that feeling, that way you want to feel as you go into the week. So let's dive into the to-dos, and I'm going to do the to-dos alongside the habit and activity that's right below, because I think sometimes for some people, they're not quite sure which to put where. So I'm going to talk about both of those so you can kind of figure that out as you go through. So in that to-do box, certainly think about that idea of the results you want rarely come without a process of gradual steps toward it. So as you think of those goals, what would be the gradual steps that you would need to take to get to those goals, right? And so you can see some people use this as like a straight up to-do list, right? They just have their to-do list and they just list things out. Sometimes people like to use it as what they call a ta-da list, right? Like ta-da. So as they do the things, they put them onto the list. So it feels a little bit better to see those things show up on the list. There's also a lot of people like the Eisenhower matrix, which is that little box down in the lower right hand corner, where you kind of have these things that are on your to-do list, but you see if you can classify them into one of the boxes. So if it's something that's important and something that's urgent, you put it in your do box, right? It's something that has a clear deadline, clear consequences for not hitting those deadlines. You're going to put those in there, right? Maybe it's something when you look at it, it's something that's important, but maybe not necessarily urgent. So perhaps you could schedule it. Maybe it's those things that we procrastinate on. Notice it says examples are things like exercise. So maybe it's the kind of thing where you're like, okay, this is important, but it's not necessarily urgent. It doesn't necessarily have a deadline, but I want to figure out how to do that. So I'm going to figure out how to schedule that. Maybe you have some things on that list that aren't necessarily important, but they're things that have to be done. So maybe it's things like laundry or watering the plants. Maybe you can delegate that to someone, a kiddo or a significant other or a roommate, a coworker, something you can kind of let go of. Maybe it's something that's not important and it's not urgent, and it's these things on your to-do list. So maybe it's things you can drop off. Maybe it's things that you can scratch out, right? Maybe you want to do a bingo. So you want to set it up a little more fun for you. So you have it set up kind of as that to-dos with making doctor's appointments and going to the office and taking a nap. I love that one, right? So you can kind of cross it off and get the bingo. Also, some people like to divide it up into their wants and needs for the week. So you can kind of think of that as a way that you could use that little box. Here are some other examples. Someone has a need, want, and hope list. So you can kind of take a look at that. Susie, I saw your, we're asking about Mayha's post. There isn't a way to search in the club, so you just kind of have to scroll down, but it was earlier this morning, so it shouldn't hopefully be too far down there. Let's see, some people, again, do a weekly to-do and a weekly to-da list, a morning and an evening schedule, a work and a home schedule. Then there's also, again, the to-da list. There's a to-be list, right? So be present, be encouraging, be confident, be brave, instead of actual necessarily activities, things that they have to do. Stickers and doodles are always good to put in this section. And then, so again, think about those things you're going to put there, but then also think about this part underneath where it says habits and activities. So what's the difference between this and the monthly habit tracker is that these are usually things specific to the week that don't have to be done every single day, whereas the monthly habit tracker are things usually that you want to do every single day. So you can see some different ways that people have set this up. You don't have to fill in every line. Maybe you want to have things like dishes, laundry, and daily ritual. One person just has hydrate, and that's the only thing on the list. Some people like to kind of fill in the circles, or not fill in, but outline the circles so that they're like, okay, those are the days I'm going to do that. So for example, I always have pack my lunch for work 3 times a week. And then I kind of circle what days I want to get that done. So those are some examples of things that you can do in this. So again, as you think about those to-dos, do you want it in a to-do? Do you want it in maybe it's an activity that you want to do multiple times this week? I see someone's going to divide up the to-dos into 3 columns: must do, should do, and wish to do, right? One person I think sometimes I've seen is necessary. They have a necessary list and a delightful list. So these are things that they're necessary, I have to do them. And here's some delightful things. So, and here's an example of pages that have everything filled out. And you can see if you don't want to use the habit and activity tracker, or really any section, stickers, beautiful, cover it up, right? You're like, the weekly to-dos is enough for me. I'm just going to cover it up with some stickers. You can see the one on the right, they have some things that are very specific, things like filling out their reading tracker, daily rituals, micro prompts, recipe book, reading Atomic Habits, right? So reminding yourself to go back maybe and fill out your mood tracker, or reminding yourself to check on your monthly habit tracker. So I'll cycle through these again so you can kind of take a look and see. Feel free to let us know what you're going to put in these boxes. Again, always play a little music, and then we'll check back in here in just a moment. All right. So hopefully you've kind of figured out, do you want to use that to-do box? Do you want to use that habit activity box? What does that look like? What are some things that you want to kind of put in there going forward as you dive into this week? Again, think about these are the things that will help you feel that way you want to feel as you go through your week. So let's dive into the next page, right? And so this is page 33. And so I think these next three we're going to kind of go over so you can kind of decide how you want to use them. I think they're frequently repurposed by folks, especially this meal plan section, right? So obviously you can use it to plan your meals. You could use it to track your meals, right? To kind of write down so that you can see what you've had, which can be really helpful sometimes if you're having some physical symptoms that maybe you want to check on. So you want to take a look at that. But other things that people do with this, use it for a symptom or a health tracker. Somebody's using it for their glucose levels. Maybe you want to do a daily debrief of each day, daily scripture, schoolwork, homework, lesson plan reminders, a word of the day. Maybe it's some reflections. This person uses the GLAD acronym, where it's grateful, something you're grateful for, something you learned, something you achieved, and something that delighted you, right? So that's another potential way to use that. Notice some people use those water drops to code what they're drinking. So if they have water, they're having blue, or coffee can be brown. If they have tea, so kind of keeping track of how they're staying hydrated. I like the one who uses the little sticky note tab, and they have the journal prompts and responses. So it says like, I feel joy when, and you can kind of lift the tab up and then they've got something that's written down in there. Folks keep track of their chore list, their appointments, or their socials, um, their wardrobe tracker, packing list, some checklists maybe that they want to kind of check off. Let's see. The 7 types of rest, if you've seen those, this idea of there's 7 different ways that our body and our brain need to rest. So sometimes people think about that and what that's going to look like for them for the week. The feels and meals, I love that idea. So maybe kind of tracking what they were feeling when they were eating or how they felt afterward. A self-care plan, a weekly reflection, and then that mind body health plan up in the top right. The idea here is just that you're kind of thinking of different things for each day that you can do for your mind and your body, right? So maybe you want to build your Sunday night routine. So I took that little picture from our Silk and Sonder Instagram page. So if you don't follow them, I highly recommend it because they always have lots of really good stuff to kind of help us with planning different things. There's one where they talk about having a meatless Monday, a TV-free Tuesday. So they have the fun alliterations, make it into a bingo. Again, give yourself some ideas of things. Love yourself, be quirky, be kind, be patient. One person divided it up into something I did well this week and some ways I loved others this week. So that's a fun way to kind of take a look at it. Yeah, and Barb's saying I've been repurposing areas the same way each week, so it becomes a routine. Do other people do that, or do you change it up every time? So I would definitely say it depends for me on what that week holds. I love it. If it's working for you and you like it, I think you carry it over and you do the same thing each week, right? But if you're like, well, that's getting kind of stale, I don't know if it's really helping, I don't know if that's really what I need this week, you can kind of think about switching it up. You can always go back to what it was like the next week. That's the nice thing, is you only have it for 7 days, and you can always like put a sticky note over the top of it and redo it if you need to midweek. That shopping list, again, can be used for things that you need to go shopping for, or maybe it's things that you're making sure you're filling your cup. So you have some different things that you want to check off. Again, the bingos, folks love the bingo, intentions that they have for the week. Maybe a list of things you want to let go and things you want to invite in for the week. So again, those are just kind of some fun things. So I'm going to play some music, let you work on this. Let us know if you repurpose these areas and you say like, I always repurpose these areas and these are all the things that I've done. This is how I always repurpose it. This is what it always looks like. And then we'll check back in here in just a moment and wrap things up. All right. So goodness, the time goes so quickly. Where does the time go? So in these last few minutes, I just wanted to show you because some people say, "What do I do with this I'm loving box?" So it can just be something that you're loving. You can fill it out now. You can fill it out midweek. You could fill it out at the end of the week. Something that you're just really enjoying. Something you're just really loving. We've got books and tea, Silk and Sonder journaling, daily rituals. I put in for mine the new U2 song, which has a couple great lines, but one of them that I really liked was, "You just have to be right one more time than you're wrong." And I thought that was a great lyric, right? So that's definitely something that I have been loving so far this week. Here's just a couple I wanted to show you, just a few examples, because again, since we have a lot of new folks kind of say, "What do I do with these daily pages?" People use them for lots of different things. Some people use them to answer the journal prompts that we have. Um, some people, you can see, they have like their highs and lows, their brain dump, their self-care and household things, or maybe they list off events that they have for that day, to-dos that they have, chores that they need to do, the affirmation for the day. um, Again, here's one who did like motivation Monday, transformation Tuesday, wellness Wednesday, right? They kind of listed those out. Someone over on the right has a Bible verse, a quote, and an affirmation that they put in each day. And they also have their chores kind of up on the top there. Another person, they have their exercise, their brain dump, which is just kind of getting things out of their brain, their to-do list, things that they accomplished, self-care that they did for the week, things that they have to do tomorrow. So just kind of keeping those things in mind. So those are some fun ways to work on those daily pages. And we love it if you share your planner in Sonder Social. All of these come from real life Sonder fam members that have shared in Sonder Club. We take screenshots so we can pop them into our slides. They're real. They're very authentic. They're not those, not the curated kinds of things. So we love it if you feel comfortable sharing those kinds of things, right, in the Sonder Club. So hopefully everyone has the app. Folks are on there. And just a few things to touch on here. And I know Bailey is popping in a few links there into the chat for some of these QR codes. You can scan the QR codes if you have your camera on, and you can kind of scan for the from the screen, but Bailey is also putting the links in there as well. We still have the Refer a Friend program going, where if you refer a friend and they sign up, you get $10, they get $10. We still have the upgrade to an annual subscription. So if you're monthly, or I think it's like every 3 months or something, you can upgrade. You do have to pay up front, but there is a savings if you're able to do that. Hopefully everyone is in the app. And then Bailey is also popping in that YouTube link in the chat so that you can see the different socials. It takes a few days for us to get those up in there, especially over the weekend, but they should be up within a few days. And there's over 500 in there now. So there's always lots of fun things. You can always go back. I know there's Wheel of Life in there. The only ones that are not in there are the exclusive events. And I think those are now, you can access them in Sonder Club, but there is a fee to access those particular recordings. So let us know, in Sonder Club, if you want to share those pages. We would love to see you at some more upcoming socials. I hope you have a fantastic first week of October. Looking forward to seeing how everyone sets things up for the week. And I will leave you with the new U2 song, because I am still super excited about going to see that this time next week. So take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.